Hi, VencoreWeather.com meteorologist Paul Dorian here on Tuesday, April 17th. Well, the big weather story around the Mid-Atlantic region right now is the colder than normal temperatures will struggle to reach the 50-degree mark this afternoon in much of the I-95 corridor region from D.C. to Philadelphia to New York City. That's way below normal for this time of the year. Right now, the normal high temperature of Philadelphia International Airport, PHL, is around 64 degrees. About 67 degrees at Reagan National Airport in D.C. Central Park, normal temperature right now is around 61 degrees. Again, we'll be way below normal for this time of the year. This afternoon and tonight, temperatures could drop to the low to mid-30s. Indeed, there is a potential freeze in some spots, suburban locations, northern western suburbs of D.C., all the way up to the suburban areas of Philadelphia and New York City. Temperatures late tonight could drop to near freezing, which could do some damage to some sensitive plants out there this time of the year. A nicer day on tap for tomorrow, but another cold shot comes for the Thursday night, Friday time frame, and once again, we'll be way below normal for this time of the year. Well, before we focus in on the short term, I'd like to show something we haven't seen in a while here, the sea surface temperature anomalies. I'm already starting to take a look at the tropical outlook and hope to issue that over the next couple of weeks. And one of the main things I focus in on are sea surface temperature patterns around the globe. There are a few areas of interest I want to point out right now. We'll continue to monitor these closely over the next couple of weeks. First of all, in the equatorial part of the Pacific Ocean, there is a La Nina continuing. That's colder than normal conditions represented on this particular map from NOAA's website in blue. The equator is indicated right here by this horizontal line, and again, colder than normal conditions right now. However, most computer forecast models tend to transition this into weak El Nino conditions by the mid or latter part of the summer. And that transition and the ultimate result of an El Nino by the later summer months could certainly play an important role in the Atlantic Basin tropical season. Indeed, what goes on in the Pacific certainly can have an impact on the Atlantic Basin tropical season. A couple of our areas of interest. This is the west coast of Africa. Of course, here in the U.S., we have a lot of tropical systems that form over Africa, move westward toward the U.S. mainland in the trade winds, and the sea surface temperatures in this particular part of the tropical Atlantic Ocean, quite important indeed. Notice right now a patch of colder than normal conditions just off the west coast of Africa. That would be an inhibiting factor. It certainly tends to reduce the formation or intensification of tropical systems as they push off the west coast of Africa, but also just to the west of there across the Gulf of Mexico, the Caribbean Sea, and the western Atlantic, lots of warmer than normal conditions. So really, all in all, some mixed signals going on here in the Atlantic Ocean. A little bit bullish sign right here for tropical storm activity, and not so bullish just off the west coast of Africa. And we'll again focus in on the change over the Pacific Ocean that is expected over the next few months from La Nina to El Nino. So this is the current look sea surface temperature pattern, and we'll talk about this again during the tropical outlook. Well, let's get back to the short-term pattern. We've talked for several days now about the colder than normal weather pattern expected right through the end of the month of April. This is the current 5-day period, the average 850 millibar temperature anomaly over the current 5-day period. These particular maps on tropicaltidbits.com come from the 6Z run of the ensemble version of the GFS. And notice, not only is it colder than normal in the mid-Atlantic region, but really the coldest core of this air mass relative to normal is situated right on top of the mid-Atlantic region. And again, some 10 to 15 degrees below normal this afternoon here in D.C., Philadelphia, New York City, and temperatures tonight could drop to near freezing in many of the normally colder suburban locations in the I-95 corridor. Now let's jump out to days 6 to 10, and here we go. And notice lots of blue continuing here in the mid-Atlantic region throughout much of the eastern U.S. Now this is days 6 to 10 next week, going into the latter part of the month of April. Again, Perhaps not as cold relative to normal, but still below normal here in the Mid-Atlantic region. And if we go even farther out in time to days 11 to 15, notice still some blue, some colder than normal, hanging on right over the East Coast, including the Mid-Atlantic region. Again, remember, we've talked about this before. This is the ensemble version of the GFS. It tends to smooth things out with time, so this could end up being a little bit colder than it appears right now. This is going way out there to the end of April and the beginning part of May. Still below normal here in the Mid-Atlantic region. Much of the rest of the country either near normal or just above normal, but colder air hanging on here right to the end of the month of April. Well, let's now focus on the short term using the 6Z GFS. This is the operational version of the GFS model put together at NOAA's Modeling Center in College Park, Maryland. First of all, northwest flow of air dominates here in the northeastern part of the country. Let's move ahead in 6-hour increments. There is a pretty strong upper level feature that will kind of rotate around the main upper level low from the Great Lakes to the Mid-Atlantic region later on this afternoon, and that should very likely generate some shower activity in the Mid-Atlantic region, especially north of the Mason-Dixon line. And it may just be cold enough for snowflakes to mix in the normally colder spots of the higher elevations of east central Pennsylvania, for example, northeastern Pennsylvania, interior sections of upstate New Jersey. And in fact, the GFS has some blue, some snow shower activity across southeastern Pennsylvania and upstate Pennsylvania and New Jersey later on this afternoon into the early part of the evening. Again, way below normal for this time of the year. Once those showers get out of here, the overnight temperatures will drop way down in the 30s again into the low to mid 30s, near freezing in many suburban locations by tomorrow morning, from the northwest suburbs of D.C. to the suburbs of Philadelphia and to the suburbs of New York. Now, as we get into the day on Wednesday, the winds will lighten up and it'll turn out to be a decent afternoon, maybe high temperatures closer to 60 degrees rather than the 50 degrees expected today. Again, maybe still a tad below normal, but not a bad day, especially tomorrow afternoon with plenty of sunshine. Notice out here in the Midwest, another healthy snow event coming to Minnesota and Wisconsin. They've just been really inundated with winter-like weather, cold and snow over the past few weeks. In fact, while we were having that heavy rain event on Sunday night and Monday, there was not only a big snowstorm for April in Wisconsin, but one of the biggest snowstorms of all time. In some sections, the biggest snowstorm of all time. In places like Green Bay, Wisconsin had 22 or 23 inches. Again, the biggest snowstorm, not just for April, but at any month of the season. And another healthy snow event coming to at least southern Minnesota and much of Wisconsin over the next couple of days. This particular low moves over the northeastern U.S. and brings some rain shower activity to the D.C., Philadelphia, New York City region Wednesday night into Thursday. And following that, yet another cold air mass riding in on strong northwest winds for Thursday night and Friday. And here we go by Friday morning. Still way below normal for this time of the year. Dry conditions likely on Friday, but highs probably in the lower 50s as opposed to the more seasonable mid-60s with a stiff northwest winds. It continues to look like it'll be dry going right into the weekend. This is Saturday morning, but notice high pressure controlling the weather to our north, a Canadian high. The air will be quite chilly for this time of the year, but the sun will be quite warm. High temperatures maybe near 60 degrees both Saturday and Sunday. Again, not bad, but colder than normal for this time of the year. Let's jump ahead to Sunday morning. And here we go by Sunday morning. Still Canadian high pressure in control to the north. So a cool but dry weekend coming up. And again, the colder pattern looks like it'll continue right to the end of the month of April. So watch out late tonight. Potential temperatures near freezing in many suburban locations of the I-95 corridor could do some damage to sensitive plants out there. So be warned about that possibility. That's it for now. For VencoreWeather.com, I'm meteorologist Paul Dorian.